All right, welcome back everyone to another Cooking with Corey. Today we are going to make a stick to your ribs, kind of an autumn dish with a little bit of a flair. One of the things I like to do in the kitchen is, the grocery store rather, before I get to the kitchen, is just come up with new stuff in my brain. If I have an idea, like today I wanted to use sweet potatoes, so I'll get sweet potatoes and then I'll see what goes with that as far as flavor palette, right? So I've got some really unique bacon to add to this today. So it is a pumpkin spice bacon from Hatfield. I picked this up at Schnucks. You can get this, as far as I know, just at Schnucks right now. So I'm curious to see how that turns out, but I wanted some autumn flavors. So I got some cinnamon raw honey as well, cinnamon-infused raw honey, because that gives a little bit of an autumn feel to it. Maple bourbon goat cheese. And what I've done is I've got some sweet potatoes in the oven. I'm doing a little baked potato bowl. I'm gonna mash them up a little bit, scoop out the insides, and I'm put these delicious ingredients inside there. So first thing I wanna do is get my chicken going in my pan. So I'm gonna get this thin because we're gonna cut it up into pieces that are suitable to go inside of a sweet potato. So make it thin, it'll cook faster that way too. Kind of sashimi style here. And I'll get good chunks, and unlike beef, as everybody knows probably, right? Chicken's not gonna get really smaller when you cook it, just slightly. But I wanna make these pieces thin so they cook fast. I am using a chicken breast here today. Get these going in my pan. I don't know why I call it sashimi style, but it kind of reminds me of sashimi when it's real thin, right? And if Mike was here, he'd be frustrated about how I'm using my fingers. He says I'm gonna slice them off all the time. I'm probably not the most careful when it comes to finger placement and cooking, but I always used to get in trouble about the way I write as well. So I guess I hold my pencil and my knife weird. My pencil, I was always told that I hold my pencil like a left-handed person who writes with their right hand. So I don't know if anyone can relate to that, or if it even matters anymore. I think it used to be in grammar school, it was pretty important to, I was like for years, I can remember my teachers being like, you gotta hold your pencil correctly. What that was gonna do for me as an adult, I have no idea, other than the fact that people don't really comment on it now, except to say it looks strange the way I hold it. So I guess that was another one of those things in school where it's like, when am I gonna learn this or need this? So the thing I like most about the fall, besides the weather, is the food, right? I love having food that is warming to the soul, chilies and mashed potatoes, and I don't really like stew, but as I get older, I think I do kind of have started to like stew, so maybe that's an additional one that I kind of will add to my repertoire. So I'm gonna turn this on here, and as you've seen before, these Wolf induction ovens are slick as snot, right? They heat up real quick. While I have that going over here, I'm gonna saute a few things. I've got some garlic to put in here and some honey. Now, one thing that I was just told by my buddy Bill is that, and he learned this from a chef in Italy, that this little green part inside of the garlic, what was it called? A stem? A germ. A germ. So there's this little green part. And the greener it is, the more bitter that flavor is gonna be. So that is something you wanna get out of your clove before you use it. I was today years old when I learned this. Never before in my life have I heard that. But now I'll be looking for this in my garlic to get it out so I don't get a bitter taste. Because usually I would just kind of give it a single chop and then smash these things down to put them in, especially if I'm gonna saute them, because I wanna get as much of the juice as I can. But now that I know this little secret about this insert into all these things, I'm going to make sure I'm checking it out. And I guess that the statement that was made is that the greener it is, the more bitter it will be. So maybe there's a better technique to do that. Just kind of find it at the top and go down from there. I'm gonna use my fingers for this garlic to break it up quicker. And these are prevalent in here. I would guess this is where they sprout from. If you know anything about the heart of the garlic here, comment below. Let me know if that's the first time you've ever heard about it. Maybe your grandmother or your mother or your father, whatever, had a technique where they knew about it, but I have never heard about it. And now that I know, like, I'm looking at this one here and it's enormous. It's like the pistil on a flower. So maybe that is where it grows from. So if nothing else from today, hopefully we all learned a little secret from our buddy Bill Tuttle about garlic. So smash that up a little bit, give it a squeeze, put it in some hot oil here. Let's get this going and crank that sucker up. Now I'm gonna slice some jalapenos. I love jalapenos and everything, and I always have fancied myself a spicy food guy. As I've gotten older though, I think that my spice tolerance is subsiding. I've noticed fairly recently that I used to this kind of, and my youngest son does this too, he'll eat a jalapeno like an apple. But I've noticed lately that I can no longer do that, and where I used to maybe use a whole jalapeno on things, nowadays I don't even come close to that. I'm using one or two maybe in an entire dish for several people, whereas before I would use a lot. So in order to take some of this heat out, I have some natural honey, and I'm gonna cook them before, where I used to just put fresh jalapenos right on top of whatever I was making. I'm gonna cook them beforehand so it takes some of that heat out. And hopefully with that garlic, that'll help. So I got my chicken starting to sizzle here. And again, you know, being an avid gas stove guy up until I've used these induction, I don't know that I wouldn't recommend this over gas at this point. It seems like it's so much more efficient to use. Most homes only have electric in them anyway now. You know, like street lamps. My street, where I live, is very dark at night. And I always get concerned, like if my son's out there riding his bike or the kids are out playing at night, especially, you know, as the summer dwindles down, we're getting into fall, it gets darker earlier, but the kids are still used to playing until a certain time and they're out there and it's dark. And it's because all the street lamps and house lamps on my street were gas. And a lot of them have been capped off because everybody's switching over to electrical everything. And I guess it makes sense. You have one less thing to pay or worry about. And natural gas is an expensive resource, right? So let me get this out of here. So another thing I like to do is I like to think about how I can cook things faster. I enjoy having speed, the element of speed within my cooking. I probably did the same thing on this side. I'll do it on that side, and I turned the front one, didn't turn the front one on. So as this gets going, move my chicken around and season it. I've got oil in the pan. I use olive oil for everything. I used to try and use different oils, like a sesame oil, or now if I do like a fried rice, I'll still put in sesame oil to things. But again, it comes down to the more you know, and the more I've read about olive oil and the health benefits of olive oil. And as I'm aging, I think that one of my primary focuses is to kind of slow that process down as much as possible. I would prefer not to age at all, but we all do. And so the better we take care of our bodies along the way, probably the better chance we have of making that a more graceful process. So I think that has a lot to do with what you eat, what you're putting in your body, how you're taking care of your body, even if it's just walking, which is kind of a strange thing, you know, being an athlete as a young man and then considering walking exercise now is kind of funny to me. Like, did you exercise today? Like, yeah, I went for a walk. That just used to be like what we did when we left the house. And now it's considered exercise, right? Put a little of that in there. So I'm gonna put in this is raw honey that I got. Recently did a test, or saw a test where a guy put honey onto a plate and sloshed it around. And as he did, the honey formed into a honeycomb shape. And then he said that's how you tell if it's going to be, or if it is real honey or not, is it honeycomb shape when you slosh it around. I had never heard that prior to that. Turn this fan on, get a little ventilation going. All right, chicken's browning, it's almost done. Got this mixture going over here. So I'm gonna cut up and add my bacon to this garlic, olive oil. We've got jalapeños in here. Mash this up a little bit. Kind of the idea here is I'm gonna make this into a drizzle. Now, I didn't put too much olive oil in there because this pumpkin spice bacon has a lot of fat. It's gonna make its own oil. It'll get smaller when you cook it. So I'm gonna kind of dice this up, add that into the mix, and we'll have our little potato filler here. So that's what we're gonna use to fill our baked potato. You don't have to rip it up with your hands. I'm getting real primitive in the kitchen here. I just want to add some of this bacon fat to the chicken. Does anybody else use their hands more often than not? Like if I don't have company, I'm in there just cavemaning my whole meal sometimes. And if Tyson is helping me at home or if Blair's home and he's in the kitchen, it's kind of like we're cooking indoors, but like outdoor style. So we do use utensils and stuff, right? But a lot of ripping and tearing goes on with our hands in that scenario. So I'm gonna let this decaramelize. I'm gonna get a little bit going here at the bottom of this pan. Let these sizzle a little bit. I'm gonna pull the sweet potatoes out of the oven. We'll get those smashing. But we're gonna do that right when we come back. And then I'm gonna talk a little bit about some of my fondest memories of Halloween and fall and autumn while we get ready to put this all together. So I'll be right back with you. We're gonna get the potatoes out of the oven and we're gonna get this stuff put together and we'll be back in just a second. All right, welcome back to another episode of Cooking with Corey. We just took a quick break. We are here again in the beautiful Slyman Bros showroom in Baldwin on Manchester here in St. Louis, Missouri. 60 years of family business is pretty darn incredible when you think about any kind of functionality of any business you might know. 60 years is, like I said, incredible. There's no really better way to describe it. I'm gonna add my chicken in with this other fillings here with the jalapeños and the garlic and the things that I'm sauteing here. But now I'm gonna add my honey as well. So it's got raw honey, it's infused with cinnamon. And I'm gonna use that to kind of caramelize things a little bit. And you can tell that's, oh, I love that. I love the consistency of good actual raw honey instead of the teddy bear stuff that you get at the store. It's a little bit gritty. But then I'm gonna add some sweet to my heat. The steam from the jalapeños is really kicking. It's starting to get to me. You can tell, like I said, that's my age, I guess, is like, all that stuff used to be good for me. I can just take it in stride and keep cooking. So while I'm making this autumn dish, one of the things that always come to mind for me that is very nostalgic about autumn is actually music class. So in grade school music class, we used to have like the best time singing Halloween songs. And I remember we had this little Halloween parade. So in 1st through 3rd grade, I lived down in the Ozark area and just outside of Branson, Missouri. And we'd have a little Halloween parade every year. And all dress up. show up to school in our costumes, practice our songs, and we'd march around the parking lot and be singing our Halloween songs. And it was a lot of fun. And I don't think that that is something that really goes on anymore. So I would say that's probably what I miss most, like when we're talking about nostalgia from the fall. But the other thing we used to do that you can do right here in our fair city is we used to go drive the river road. So my grandfather would load us all up and we would go look for eagles and see the changing of the leaves and do all that around the Great River Road. And if you've never been out there and you live this close to it, you're missing out. The Alton River Road was actually voted, like one of the top scenic drives in the entire United States too. So I'm gonna take this filling from here, I'm gonna scoop out a little more, and I'm gonna use that to put back inside of the potato. So I'm gonna leave my skin on. And just kind of scoop it out of there delicately so that I have some form to it still. And another thing that I think I always think of when I think of autumn is the desserts. And we haven't really done desserts yet on cooking. Pumpkin pie is one of my favorite desserts of all time. Cheesecake. I absolutely love cheesecake. So what I would like to do is on the next episode, we'll get somebody that's really proficient at the dessert or is a dessert connoisseur, and we'll talk about holiday pies, because pie and cobbler are like two of my favorite things in the entire world. This potato's hotter than I expected it's here, so I have to use a utensil to help me out. No caveman in this part of it. It's too hot. It's too hot. Add this in there to the mix. Turn my stove off. It's all cooked up. Get it off the heat. And then after I stuff these back in, I'm gonna pop them in the oven for a little bit. Add the goat cheese on top. And that'll add a nice layer to it. Once that goat cheese melts down over the top of the filling. So I've got everything cooked up here and mashed up. But I'm interested to hear some of your favorite memories. And I think that part of the nostalgia of fall too, and the reason I chose this dish and the reason I chose to talk about nostalgia at all, is because cooking is a big part of it. It's when you're done grilling for the year, typically. Every once in a while you might still step outside and grill. I grill well until November, but outside. But the smells of the house. I feel like going into the holidays, there's a lot of family time. Growing up, the windows were open. There was always something good on the stove, and it was you get closer to Halloween, and you have all those Halloween specials coming on television, and all your favorite TV shows are doing their Halloween episodes. And I guess with the dying out of like cable TV and that kind of stuff, it's just not the same. I don't feel like we have that kind of a deal anymore. And so it's definitely something that I reminisce about. So I'm gonna take all of my fixins, I'm gonna put them in a bowl so that I can scoop them out into my prospective potatoes here. And it's chicken, and it's a sweet potato filling, and I've got the pumpkin spiced bacon in here, garlic, jalapeños. I've never made this before. I thought these things sounded good together. They all sounded very autumny. So I'm really hoping it turns out well and better than my scooping skills, because I've got ingredients all over the table here. But I want to talk to you about something else that's very exciting, along with fall that comes, is hockey season here in St. Louis. And St. Louis loves their Blues and their Cardinals. We are definitely a sports city, or as Anheuser would say, we are a sports city with a drinking problem? A drinking city with a sports problem. Reverse it. So I'm going to take this now. I'm going to stuff all my ingredients here into my sweet potato. It's a little bit, the presentation's a little off today. I apologize, but I'm gonna stuff that in there, top it with some goat cheese, and we're gonna pop this sucker back in the oven for about 10 minutes. Let this goat cheese kind of melt down. I should probably use a little more utensil, a little less hand, right? I'm getting barbaric again with it. And I know that Sam's looking from behind the camera thinking probably like, I hope he washed his hands well, because if I have to taste this after he's done and he didn't, I'll be very upset. So now this can go back in the oven. And I would say 10 minutes at 400. We had it at 400. What we could also do is, honestly, you could broil it to make that cheese go down. But I'm gonna find my little rack here. I left it in the oven. Perfect. Pop this sucker in here. Let that cheese get nice and gooey. Then we'll pull it out, and then I'm gonna top it. So the reason I brought up hockey is because of these bad boys right here. I have had a vision for quite some time to do barbecue sauces and things, but nobody really knows who I am. And was lucky enough to have some of my buddies who played professional hockey agree to do this with me. And 2 Men in a Garden, Joel and Brett over there, have been fantastic about helping us get this to market and get this all going. So you will be able to buy it online, and it's already in some stores, hopefully in more very soon by the time this comes out. Who knows, it could be all over the place, but you can buy it online. Each of the guys has their own flavor. So if you're a hockey fan, we've also got swag coming out. There's gonna be hats and hoodies and shirts and little playing cards and really cool stuff to go along with this. But Tony Twist has Carolina Twisted, and he was very instrumental in creating that very specific flavor. That's his favorite type of barbecue sauce. We've got Black Eye Bourbon with Jamie Rivers, which is got kind of a sweet but kick to it. And then we have Fist of Fire, Cam Jansen, hometown boy right here. That is a spicy sauce. It's not gonna sting your tongue, but it's definitely spicier than the rest of in the collection. And then Sweet and Lowsy. Sweet and Lowsy has no actual sugar in it. All these are very clean ingredients. Sweet and Lowsy with Reed Low, no sugar in that one. And then one I'm gonna use today is Soupy's Sweet and Savory. So Jim Campbell has a sweet and savory edition. I'm gonna check this out. I know it's not been 10 minutes, but I'm gonna look at this for TV purposes, and it's still not melted. It is goat cheese. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and prep this and plate it so that you get an idea of what's going on. But with hockey season coming up, if you're entertaining and you're still throwing down on the grill, or if you're having a tailgate party or a watch party for your Blues games, there's really not a better way to do it than to utilize one of these Bare Knuckle Barbecue sauces. So Bare Knuckle Barbecue sauce, kind of a play on the whole Punchline thing, and it just, it goes with what our brand is. And if you know anything about any of those guys, there's some prolific enforcers within that group. I think Reed Lowe was the only guy to ever have the maximum number of penalty limits inside of 2 seasons. And Tony Twist speaks for itself, one of the toughest guys to ever play the game, am I right? Like every one of those guys will tell you the same thing. Cam Jansen, hometown boy, always squabbling on the ice and doing well with it. Jim Campbell, probably not known as much for his fighting, but he had a fighting spirit. Almost got Rookie of the Year his first year in. Played with several different teams, but loved St. Louis so much, like many of them do, that he ended up here. So he's another one of the alumni that stayed here in St. Louis. I'm gonna just drizzle that all over there. So that is our finished product. And that is an autumn sweet baked potato with barbecue sauce, bacon, jalapeños, garlic, a little bit of honey, and a lot of love. So we'll see how that tastes. The chicken in there is really gonna set that up. It's good high protein in there with the goat cheese and other things. But like I said, we're gonna taste this. Check this out. We'll put the link below. Bare Knuckle Barbecue Sauce. You could find it at 2 Men in a Garden online. And I want to say thank you so much for joining us today on Cooking with Corey. I know this is a quick one. I want to do a quick dish. I want to introduce these new sauces that we have. I want to tell you all to have a very happy holiday season. We're gonna be back throughout the holidays doing holiday specials, but this is our intro into autumn, our intro into hockey season, and our intro into these beautiful sauces, Bare Knuckle Barbecue sauce. So we're gonna go ahead and take some bites out of this. We're gonna eat it up. I'll let the guys tear into this when we are done. I'll get the first christening bite and then I'll build theirs out. But let's see how it tastes. Wow. Magical. Thank you for watching Cooking with Corey. Please like and subscribe. Follow us for more dishes, more entertainment. Our episodes coming out have great guests in line with them. We're lucky enough to be sponsored by and powered by Slyman Bros, utilizing their beautiful showroom, Wolf Appliances, and all the things that have been a part of St. Louis as a staple for many, many years. Couldn't be happier with that situation. And now we're bringing in Blues alumni to the fold. So when you're talking about a St. Louis thing, this is so St. Louis, right? We will see you next time. Thank you.